All right, week 22 at Agentuity. Welcome, July 3rd. Happy 4th weekend. And I'm going to jump right into something Sang did. Demo this here. Make sure you can see it. Okay, good to go. So we had the typical Nextra search that you get for our docs, but we now have vector search and an agent that's all Agentuity built, by the way. So this is open source, so you can go and you can go to the docs repo and check it out. But if you hit Command K or click on search, it opens up documentation. And you can say like, tell me about agent memory. And so all of our docs, we go through a vectorization pipeline. We take all of them, unbuild, vectorize everything, put it in our Agentuity vector store. And you'll see there's the answers there. And you can click on the guide. You can see there's a guide, the relevant guide, and you can say, show me how to use key value. Hit enter. And then you can just continue on. There you go. So there's that. More information. You can actually click on this. Oh, it opens a new window. I don't like that. It should open the same window. Well, I'm sharing only one tab. It opens a new window. We'll need to do that where it opens the same one. But anyway, it'll end up going to that. And then at any point you can go back to the search and it retains where you were at, which is nice. So you can kind of build this up as you're going, click on it, and it'll jump around. So you never lose your spot until you click clear, and then you're back to square one. So great addition. There's a bunch of other stuff we want to do with this as well, make it even more agentic, but this is a great first start for what we're doing. So I'll stop sharing. And Pedro, I think you're next.
Alrighty. Yeah, so this week I worked on what we're calling the outbound IO. Basically, so you tell the agent to do something and then there's always like a response. Now we can tell basically the agent or the system to send a response, whatever you want, right? So we have this thing, I mean, webhook was always there. We have this new thing called API, which is just an API, which is pretty cool because here you can just put like a URL, you can add some headers, like HTTPS, example.com, like API, whatever. And then you can tell it to post, put, or patch because it's going to send a body, an HTTP body from the agent. Okay, so you guys remember from last week I demoed that customer support demo agent where you could ask things, sort of like what Rick showed, and then it give you a response. So that's not really useful unless you do something with the response, right? I think last week I showed like a quick SMS message as well. But anyway, with this thing, you can tell it, once you're done, send that response to this API, to this endpoint, and you want to do something like, if you want to protect your server, X API key, and then you put, some just random stuff or whatever's on your API key. This is cool. Now this is now in production, so you can start using it today. But I'm going to show you what's coming. We just added an improvement to this screen because you don't want to show like secret keys in plain text. So check this out. Let's go to another. This is in developer mode. So I already have an IO over here, api.example.com. I added this thing that it's gonna detect your header. If it looks like a secret, so you could do, we just had that like a secret key, or you do something like, API key. It's going to detect it. It's going to assume that this is a secret. So it's just going to mask it like a password, but you can always, click here and see it. And another cool addition is that let me just do secret, for example. So it's going to think it's a password. But the cool thing is that if you do $, it's not a password anymore. Now it's an environment variable, which is pretty cool. So you can do server key. So what this does when you save it, this is going to look in your environment variables that you set up in your project, and it's going to replace, obviously, this key with that environment variable. So if this is like an API secret key that you're using elsewhere, you can just do this. This is still in developer mode. Still got to do a full review before we merge it, but it's going to be there pretty soon. And then we're going to be working on different outbound IOs, like agent to agent. So now you can, you're going to also be able to call an agent after this agent is done, or do like SMS or email. So there's going to be other IOs coming soon. So, yep, that's pretty cool.
Very
That's
cool.
it. So I'm going to pass it to Jason, and he's going to show something really impressive.
Thanks, Pedro. I don't know if I can top that. That is really, really cool stuff. But I'll show you what I was working on this week. It's a prompt library for Agentuity. So the idea here is that you can control your prompts from a console. So I'll walk you through it, just creating a prompt. We'll do one I've been messing with, which is an NBA historian. You are an NBA expert, and then we can enter your prompt, right? So eventually this will be written by AI, but for right now, we'll just have to type it ourselves. Let's say you are an expert on the history of the NBA. Please answer a question. Some typos there.
If this prompt an agent answers that LeBron is better than Michael Jordan, then I'm out.
All right. Well, we'll see. So the cool thing is that you can use this syntax to have any variable in here, and it'll detect that, and then we can compile the prompt. So I'll just have it with the question. We can wrap it in XML. We can use all of our prompt engineering tricks that we have. So when we create that, now we've got the NBA historian here, and we can kind of see it. Now coming over to my code, we'll take this name, and we'll compile the prompt here with the name of the prompt and the question that you'll get from the input of the agent. So when I reload that, come here to dev mode. And what was the question, Rick? Who is the best basketball player of all time? And we'll see what it says. There you go. Michael Jordan. Done.
Oh, but it had to mention LeBron, so I don't know. You get some. We had to. It couldn't just say. It couldn't just say MJ and leave it alone. Come on.
Who has the most triple doubles? Probably LeBron. Oh, Westbrook. Wow.
What?
Whoa.
I wonder if that's true.
Nice.
Anyway, as you can see, this is a fun thing to play with, and this is the first iteration, so there's a good chance it's gonna change a good bit. But the concept is version your prompts, create them from the console here as a non-technical person or a technical person, and hopefully we'll get some evals in here down the line and have a whole kind of roadmap here. So yeah, pretty exciting stuff. And that is it for me. And I will pass it off to Jeff.
All right. That's pretty cool. Let me show off. I've been working mostly this week, actually a few weeks here, on a lot of infrastructure changes. We're trying to really speed up the infrastructure, add a bunch of new features to the infrastructure. And I thought I would show a couple of new features and also talk a little bit about some of the improvements that rolled out yesterday. So,
hey, Jeff, can you command plus a couple times?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
How about
There
now?
we go. Yeah, it's better.
Okay, so I have this Python project. We now support a few different things. So when we virtualize your agent and deploy it to our cloud, we by default will put it in on-demand mode, which means it sort of acts like serverless. It's not serverless because it's a full-blown virtualized machine, but we will sort of spin it up and spin it down on demand. And we that's kind of the default mode. We now have this mode here when you create a new app, or you can drop it into your existing app. It will work. And under deployment, this is under Agentuity YAML file gets generated. You can set this mode by default. Again, it'll be on demand is the default, which basically acts like it'll on demand the resources. We will only charge you while the agent is executing, and when it's not executing, we won't charge you. And we'll idle it and warm and cold start it depending on the mode. We also have this new provisioned mode. So if it's on demand, we'll start it up. You can also override the idle time. We will automatically determine if the agent hasn't done any work and the idle period, which by default is 10 minutes. We will automatically pause it and kind of freeze the state, etc. And so when a new request comes in on the fly, it'll automatically unfreeze, which only takes about 50 milliseconds at most usually. We'll unfreeze it and service that request, and then you can change the idle time if you want. Right now, the default is 10 minutes. You have to have it at least greater than 1 minute. So anything greater than 1 minute, you can change the idle time. Or if you set it to provisioned, provision means it will never idle. So that, think of that like a full-blown VM. Now, the difference in on-demand, the default idle, is we only charge you when the agent is executing. So the compute when the agent is executing. If you change the idle time, we will then charge you for the time that it is running, basically, up to the idle period. Or if you change it to provisioned, obviously, we will charge you when it's deployed and as long as it's running. So every hour, we basically will check to see if the agent is running, and if it's running, we'll bill you for that hour or that incremental hour if it shuts down between the hours. So it kind of allows you to basically have no cold starts. It's always available. Now, the other thing that we've done, and I'm not going to demo this, but the other thing we've done around this is we've really improved the warm and cold start. Warm starts, we have some, or I should say cold starts, we have a little bit more work we want to do over the next week to continue to improve that. There's a few things that we can do around caching and freezing state and things like that we think we can improve a little bit better. But cold starts, more importantly, or I should say warm starts, more importantly, are now, they're averaging about 150 milliseconds on a warmed up instance, which we with no, obviously that's just an agent that doesn't do anything. So think of it like a no op agent. Obviously, if it talks to an LLM, you're going to have latency wherever the latency of the LLM is. But we think we can get it under 100 milliseconds, and we have a few more tricks that we're trying to do over the next few weeks to get that down. But that should dramatically change the improvement of the latency. The other thing that has been two other small things that have been requested. We will allow you now to add additional dependencies, and these are app package dependencies. So we actually, the agent is virtualized into a Debian package system. So you could now come in here and let's say you wanted to add get as a good example. I could just add get. That's not default, installed in the container. In the virtualized instance, but you can do that, and that will automatically install it for you on your behalf, and then it also manages those dependencies. We need to do a little bit more documentation around what dependencies are already installed, so you don't need to add additional dependencies if they're already there, but you can control additional dependencies. And then one last thing that we also rolled out this week was the ability, a little bit more finer control. We heard from some customers they wanted to be able to do before the agent starts up, maybe they want to hit a bucket, S3 bucket or something like that, and they want to download a model, like maybe a precompiled model, or they want to do some other types of setup things before the agent runs, and then they want that to kind of be preserved as part of the state of the virtual machine, etc. So now if you create a setup script in the root of your project, it has to be a bash file. It's got to conform to shell scripting. We will run that shell script on your behalf before your agent runs the first time, or your project runs. So you can just write whatever you want here, and it will execute automatically for you as part of running the first time. So that's it for me. I'm going to pass it over
Really cool.
We've got a video from Robin. I'm going to pass it over to Matt.
Wanted to demo this new agent I've been working on. So I am a huge beer nut. Me and my wife are. We love beer, and so one of our favorite websites is this place called SoCo Homebrew, which is a local homebrew shop. But the problem with SoCo Homebrew is the website's not that great. It's good. If you're watching from SoCo Homebrew, thanks. But the search isn't that fast. So I actually made my own website with AI, not coding websites all day long, to help me search this stuff faster, right? So if I need some keg hardware, with categories, stuff like this. It's just a little thing, So if I need a nut for, yeah, exactly, for my draft system, And this is great. And so you just click in here and it just takes you to the page, normal stuff, right? But the problem is, as I've been using it, I found that, let's say I bought a piece. Recently I bought this piece. It's called I needed a 3/8 inch barb MFL, male flare, right? So I bought this piece, right? Because I thought that I needed it. But actually, what I really needed, this is the piece that I needed the female version, right? And so instead of male flare, I needed a female flare. And so I was like, oh, great, I'll just do female flare. And where is it? It's not in here. Oh, that's the problem. Well, here's the piece that I'm actually looking for. It's this piece. But it doesn't have female flare FFL in the name. So how can we fix this? It's actually here in the description, right? But I don't index all the descriptions, right? Because if you index a description, right, you'll get like, this is commonly searchable, which is not useful and stuff, right? So I built an agent. And this is what it does. It's called my search enrichment agent. And this is a pretty dumb kind of agent, not very smart. But I have it running on a cron and webhooks and stuff. So here, I'm going to go and I'm going to send it a message, and I'm going to have it enrich my stuff. So here, oops, actually I want it over here. There we go. So we'll do a quick little overview here. So what it does is, ignore this first part, right? But you can send it some documents in my Mealysearch database, and then it'll go and scroll up here. It'll have this enrich product function, right? Where it goes and it gets the document out of Mealysearch. It gets the description from their website, and I'm like limiting all this stuff and caching really heavily, so I don't want to DDoS my favorite website. But they're using a big hosting provider, so I'm not too concerned. Plus, there's only 3,000 products, and I think 3,000 requests in the span of a couple of minutes isn't actually that much load. And then the prompt, right? I got to give me the title, the description, the categories, and a little prompt saying, generate me some high quality keywords, right? Don't put the categories because the categories are already searchable. Be concise. I had to say this a couple times because Llama isn't that smart, but it is cheap, and as you'll see in a sec, I use a bunch of tokens. And then I was getting this problem with sometimes it includes some junk, and so I made a confirm response, which says, does this look like a list of keywords? Answer only in yes or no. And this it's pretty good at. And so if not, then it'll skip it and we won't index it and it'll come back. And all of this, I used, well, I'll get back to that in a sec. Once this gets its response back and we're good, it enriches the document, returns that, and then back to enrich product. I set that in KV with the store with a TTL of a month, right? So every month, you know, if they update product, it should on average, since this is running on a cron, it should on average get itself a new set of keywords. And so now I have these keywords called AI keywords, and I added that to my Mealysearch as searchable, and so those should all pop up. So I'll go ahead right now and I'll queue a thing. There we go. And that should have just done that one, this one product, which is this. I'll go to my sessions. There we go. Here's our enrichment. Pretty cool, right? Generate text. Swivel, barb, and hex nut one piece. And you can actually see the output here, right? Look pin lock and look at that. Oh, so I'm feeling pretty good about this. So if I just do it again, there it is, first result. Isn't that great? I could do the search highlighting, but this is it. So now I have this running for pretty much every product on the site. It's going to take a couple days for it to do it because I'm doing it in small batches because I really don't want to overwhelm the site because I love this website and it's brought me so much joy. Here's my cron, right? Oh, I need 250 now. Yeah. So, and again, it's not doing 250 all at once, even when it's in the agent. So that's how it works. One thing is here, I ran it earlier and it's minute 30, and that was just a couple of them. This is a pretty dumb agent. I'm just hitting it with, you know, a JSON payload, you know, but this is still like a workload that's kind of difficult on serverless, right? Because you'd get a timeout or you'd run out of time on something like this. And so it just kind of shows that, like, you know, yeah, you could split it up and do stuff, right? I could do batches of like 10, you know, but you don't know how long the LLM's going to take. And it just kind of shows that Agentuity is kind of purpose built, where you don't have to like adapt your code to building, you know, around the cloud, right? Agentuity wants to support you there, and this is, I felt really supported doing all this. So that's my demo.
That's really cool. I thought he was going to do vector.
No, that was good.
Okay, well, that's some great demos for the week, short and sweet. For those that are celebrating in the US, happy 4th of July, and we will see you next week. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend. Talk soon.